Content in Manchester is drowning, not just with water, but with the uncertainty that permeates the community's mind. How to paddle their way out of this problematic situation. Homes under murky brown floodwater. Vehicles half buried in what used to be the main road. People staring at the place they've lived all their lives, now turned into a slow-moving lake. Content flooded again. Manchester community underwater, no rain falling. Residents trapped as groundwater rises in Manchester. Now these are the kinds of stories coming out of the little community just outside of Mandeville in the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa and the weeks that followed. For many Jamaicans, it's just another shocking clip on TikTok or YouTube. But for the people who live there, this is their yards, their shops, their piece of land disappearing underwater they can't control. And the strangest part, it's not just rainwater running from the hills. It's water coming up from the ground. Tucked away in central Manchester, Content doesn't look dangerous at first glance. It's not sitting beside a raging river like Flat Bridge. There's no massive dam, no big seawall, just a stretch of main road near Williams Field. A quiet looking community, some houses, some businesses, and the kind of gentle slope you see in most parishes. But underneath Content, a very different story is playing out. Because long before anyone built a house here, long before a shop went up, long before Manchester was even called Manchester, Content was a bowl. To understand why this place keeps flooding, we have to wind back the clock. Not just a few decades, but millions of years, when most of Jamaica's interior was forming under sea. The whole Manchester Plateau sits on a thick layer of white limestone. Over time, rainwater, slightly acidic, slowly ate away at that rock. It carved out sinkholes, caves, underground rivers, and deep, closed depressions. Imagine the land being poked and prod for ages until it developed little basins, pockets, and hollows. Well, Content is one of those hollows. Before there were houses and cars and concrete, you wouldn't have seen Content labeled on any map. What you would have seen was a low, flat basin surrounded by slightly higher land, thick vegetation, maybe seasonal ponds after heavy rain, a sinkhole, or bottom where water would vanish into the earth. It wasn't a classic river valley. It wasn't a permanent lake either. It was a karst basin, part of a natural limestone plumbing system that takes water underground instead of sending it out to the sea on the surface. In the pre-colonial days, the Taino communities in Jamaica mostly preferred the coast and the big river valleys. So a place like Content, sitting high on the limestone with no big surface river, was more likely bush, hunting grounds, temporary gardens, not a big village. It was a quiet, tucked away depression in the land, a place where water came and went according to the mood of the underground. During British rule, when the parish of Manchester was carved out in the early 1800s, the interior highland became valuable for something else, and that was estates and pastures. Coffee, pimento, citrus, and especially cattle took over large parts of this region. The gentle hollows, like the one at Content, were attractive for farming and grazing. They were open, relatively flat, and looked easy to work. The fact that water would sometimes pool there, that was just wet times of the year for them. So people just worked around it. Back then, if the basin pond for a while, after heavy rain, it didn't make the news. There were no highways, no gas stations, no housing scheme in the deepest part. Just pasture. If the land got soft or turned into a little lake for a bit, the cows and the farmers simply waited it out. But over time, that began to change. As Mandeville and the surrounding areas grew, so did development pressure. The same low-lying spots that once grew grass and cattle suddenly became prime real estate for roads, houses, and businesses. The logic was understandable. The land looks flat and easy to build on. It's right along the main road. It's even close to employment and transportation. So bit by bit, the old limestone basin was turned into a community. Yards were fenced, concrete was poured, roads were widened, natural drainage paths were crossed by asphalt. The sinkhole and the surrounding area that once quietly accepted water became just another piece of land in people's eyes. On a normal rainy day, everything seemed fine. The water disappeared the way it always did, down through the porous limestone into the underground system. For years, nothing dramatic happened until the right storm hit and the underground bowl finally filled up. In 1977, long before social media, the area experienced what water experts now describe as a very serious flood. Water rose up from the same underground system and covered parts of the district so badly that 2 people lost their lives. Back then, many residents and officials didn't fully understood what they were witnessing. It's like a freak disaster. In reality, it was the basin doing what basins do when they're pushed too far. Now, fast forward to 2002. There was months of heavy May and June rainfall beating down on South Manchester. Not just the usual showers, real hard, sustained rains that soak through every crack and crevice in the limestone. Down below, the underground reservoir, the aquifer, starts filling like a bathtub. And like any bathtub, when it reaches the rim, it has to start spilling over. So places like Porous, Harmons, just down the line, began to flood in a very serious way. There were no big rivers bursting suddenly, no gullies cutting through the community. Instead, the water simply appeared, quiet, slow, creeping up from the ground. Sound familiar? The soil turned swampy, yards submerged, roads vanished. Some areas took weeks to clear. In certain pockets, the water hung around for months. The land looked like it was remembering something old, something it was used to. Now, in 2025, the pattern has returned in the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa. Across Jamaica, the hurricane dropped extreme amount of rain, especially in the upland and mountainous areas. The limestone plateau in Manchester soaked up the water like a sponge. What didn't run off on the surface seeped down through the cracks, joints, and sinkholes, feeding an underground river system that most people never think about. Deep below content, the water table started to rise. At first, nothing looked unusual. The rain from Hurricane Melissa stopped. The skies cleared. For people on the surface, the worst seemed over. But beneath their feet, the pressure was building. The aquifer, this underground reservoir inside the limestone, was filling up faster than it could drain away. And when a sealed system like that is pushed to the limit, the water has to find a way out. That's when content's true nature showed up. Instead of acting like a drain, the sinkhole in content reversed its behavior. Water that usually traveled downward began to push upwards, back through the same routes it once swallowed rain. Slowly at first, then steadily, the ground itself seemed to start leaking. People watched water rising, even on days when the weather looked fine. To an untrained eye, it felt like a strange, supernatural phenomenon. How it a flood and no rain now fall? It's like the place just decide to turn lake. But geographically, this was the limestone bowl doing exactly what a full bowl does: overflow. And because the only way for that water to leave is once again underground, through the same limestone maze it came up from, it recedes very slowly. We're not just waiting on sunshine, we're waiting on the entire hidden plumbing system to drain itself. But at least this time, we have real-time gauges in content showing how the water table is rising, and right now it's rising roughly 1 foot per day above the surface of its peak, and that's after climbing about 100 meters from normal level. That is over 300 feet. That is a massive underground shift. So why does it feel like content keeps flooding and it's getting worse? Well, part of it is climate, and part of it is us. On the climate side, Jamaica is now seeing more intense, slow-moving rain events, and systems like Melissa sits over the island and wring themselves out, dumping inches upon inches of rain on highlands. The groundwater doesn't just rise a little, it surges. And a basin that handled rain comfortably decades ago is now pushed beyond its capacity more often. Now on the human side, we've changed how the land behaves. We've paved, concreted large areas, sending rainwater faster into low spots instead of letting it soak into the hills gradually. We've built houses, shops, roads in the very center of a natural bowl. In some places, we've partially clogged natural sinkholes with soil, debris, or construction, making it harder for water to drain when it needs to. And the result? A natural flood basin is now being treated as a permanent safe zone. So every time a big rainfall hits the plateau and the underground system fills up, content is one of the first places to show this pressure. The water returns to claim the space it always used to borrow. And for the content people, this is heartbreaking. Can you imagine waking up? Your front yard is a pond. Imagine your living room turning into a knee-high water on a sunny day. Imagine your car stranded where a main road used to be. Can you imagine waiting helplessly, not for the rain to stop, but for the groundwater to calm down? You can't pump it, you can't sweep it away, you can't drain it in the sea. And that doesn't mean that the people of content deserve any of this. Far from it. It means the planning failed them. It means science wasn't listened to. It means that for years, decisions were made on the surface without fully understanding what was happening deep below. So now we must ask the uncomfortable questions. Should people keep living in content? Should the deepest part become a no-build zone? Should the state create a resettlement program like they did for the Rio Minnow and the Bull Bay? Should we be building anything inside a natural bowl? Or are we setting families up for the next disaster? Now these questions will decide the future of content and who gets to stay. These aren't easy conversations, especially when people have poured their life savings into their homes. But if the land is telling us something, or rather showing us something in knee-high, waist-high, chest-high water, we can't pretend not to hear, or rather see. Now, I want to hear from you. Would you live in content, knowing what lies beneath? If this was your home, would you rebuild or walk away? Do you think enough Jamaicans understand the risk of living in limestone bowls across the island? Now drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it. Let's educate each other. And let's protect communities before the next awakening happens. And if you learned something today, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with the people of Content, Manchester, Mandeville, and other areas. Like, share, and subscribe so more Jamaicans like you and I can understand the land we're living on before the next storm comes. See you again soon.